Kayla walked quietly through the streets, her small boots scraping against broken concrete. The city was alive with light and noise, but she felt invisible. Neon signs flashed bright colors, casting strange shadows, but no one paid her any attention. People hurried past, heads down, carrying packages or talking to glowing screens in their hands. No one looked at her. No one cared. She clutched a small, torn bag against her chest. Inside were scraps she had found that day, broken metal pieces, a few wires, and some old, dusty food packets. Every day, she scavenged what she could. Some days were better than others, but today had been hard. Most of the trash piles had already been picked over by others or collected by corporate drones. She sighed and kicked a small can across the street. Kayla had learned early that the city was dangerous. Corporate drones patrolled the streets constantly. They were shiny and cold, with spinning cameras and flashing lights. If they saw a child alone in the streets, they didn't stop to ask questions, they just scanned and reported, and soon, social services or worse, the system, would take her away. She had been through it before. She knew how fast and cruel it could be. She ducked behind a corner as a drone buzzed past. Its light swept the sidewalk like a searching eye. Kayla held her breath, waiting until it moved on. Her heart thumped in her chest. She had been caught once before, and the memory still scared her. The cold metal room, the people asking questions, the sterile smell, it was a place no child wanted to remember. After the drone disappeared, Kayla moved again, keeping low. She liked the alleys because they were quieter. Here, she could look for scraps without being noticed. She lifted a piece of metal that looked like it had been part of a machine. Carefully, she examined it. With a little work, it could be something useful, maybe a tool, maybe a tiny robot part she could trade. She smiled faintly at the thought. Even in a city that had forgotten kindness, small things could give hope. The smell of burnt food drifted from a nearby vendor's stall. Kayla's stomach growled. She hadn't eaten much today. Most of the scraps she found were inedible, and the few bits she could eat were dry or bitter. She moved closer to the stall, but she stayed hidden, hoping someone wouldn't notice her. People didn't usually share here. The world had grown too fast, too crowded, and too careless. Kayla sat on a pile of old crates, looking around. The city felt enormous and empty at the same time. Skyscrapers stretched into the sky, their windows glowing like stars, but the streets below were full of people who only cared about themselves. She thought about her parents. They were gone. She didn't remember exactly how, only that one day, she had been left alone. Since then, the streets had been her home, the scraps her treasures, and the shadows her friends. She picked up a small, broken gadget from the ground, a little device that blinked weakly. She turned it over in her hands. With some wires and patience, it might work again. Kayla loved little challenges like this. In a world that had rejected her, fixing things gave her a sense of control. It was like telling the city, silently, I am still here. I still matter. A sudden shout made her jump. Two older kids ran past, laughing and carrying something they had stolen. Kayla pressed herself against the wall, hoping they didn't see her. The city was full of danger, not just from machines but from people too. Some were cruel for no reason. Some were desperate, just like her, but with fewer rules. Kayla had learned to move quietly, speak less, and trust no one. Night was falling. The neon lights became brighter against the dark sky. The streets changed from noisy to eerie. Shadows stretched long, and the hum of drones became more noticeable. Kayla hugged her bag closer and began to move again. She needed to find a place to hide before it got too dark. She had a small corner behind an abandoned workshop she sometimes slept in. It wasn't much, but it was safe for a few hours. As she walked, Kayla noticed something strange. A man stood under a flickering street lamp, watching the street carefully. He looked tired but kind. There was something about him that made her stop. Usually, she didn't notice people, or people didn't notice her. But this man seemed different. His eyes scanned the street not with impatience, but with curiosity, maybe even concern. Kayla quickly looked away, pretending she hadn't seen him. She didn't trust anyone anymore. Not fully. Not after everything she had survived. But for the first time in a long time, she felt a flicker of something new, hope. She didn't know it yet, but this stranger would change everything. Kayla moved on, clutching her bag tightly, her small mind busy with thoughts of survival. The city was harsh, and she had to be clever to survive. But even in the darkest streets, there were small sparks, like this man, that could change her life forever. Kayla moved carefully through the alleys, her small boots making soft sounds against the cracked pavement. The city seemed even bigger at night. Neon lights flickered on the tall buildings, reflecting on puddles left by the rain earlier. She hugged her bag tightly, her eyes scanning for any danger. Every shadow seemed alive, every sound could be a threat. She had learned that trusting anyone could get her hurt. The man from earlier was still there. Marcus. She didn't know his name yet, but she remembered his kind eyes, the way he didn't look at her like she was nothing. Most people didn't even notice her, but he had. That alone made her curious and nervous. She stayed hidden behind a pile of crates, watching him. He wasn't moving fast or looking around with alarm like everyone else. He was calm, like he had time to care about something beyond himself. Marcus had noticed her too. He had seen many children in the streets, but this girl was different. There was something sharp and clever in the way she moved, even though she was small and alone. He had tried to keep his distance, not wanting to scare her, but part of him knew she needed help. He had been alone once, too, before Kayla's mother had passed, and he knew the emptiness of streets like these. Kayla's stomach growled. She hadn't eaten properly today. Her small hands were dirty, her clothes ripped, and she could feel the chill in the night air. Marcus reached into his coat and pulled out a small food packet. He didn't call her over, he just placed it gently on the edge of the crates and stepped back. Kayla's eyes widened. No one had ever done anything like that for her. She stared at the food, torn between hope and fear. She waited a moment, then slowly stepped out from her hiding place. She kept her head down, unsure if she should trust him. Marcus smiled softly, not in a way that demanded anything, but in a way that said, "You can trust me if you want." He crouched slightly so he wasn't too tall or frightening. "I'm Marcus," he said gently. "Do you want to eat?" Kayla hesitated. She had learned that offers like this often came with strings attached. Sometimes adults wanted something in return, or worse, they would report her to the authorities. She swallowed hard, then nodded slightly. Marcus handed her the packet. She opened it carefully and took a small bite. It wasn't much, but it warmed her stomach and made her feel safe. A strange feeling she hadn't felt in years. They sat quietly for a few minutes. Marcus didn't ask too many questions, and Kayla didn't volunteer much. Words were dangerous for her. But the silence was comfortable, and that mattered. Finally, Marcus spoke again. "You can come with me," he said. "I have a place where you can stay, at least for the night." Kayla froze. She had never heard anything like that before. A place? A real place with walls and a roof? She thought about the abandoned workshop she usually slept in. Cold, dark, and smelling of dust and rust. She hugged her bag tighter. I can't," she whispered. People always leave." Marcus shook his head gently. "Not everyone," he said. "I won't. I promise. You don't have to stay out here alone." Kayla looked at him, studying his face. There was no cruelty, no impatience, only kindness. And yet, she still wanted to run. Her life had taught her to run first and trust never. She took a step back, then another, unsure if she was ready. Marcus stood slowly and didn't chase her. "That's okay," he said softly. "I'll be around. If you change your mind." He nodded toward the dark street, then turned and started walking slowly in the direction of the city's quieter streets. He didn't disappear entirely, just enough for her to see he wasn't forcing her. Kayla stayed where she was, her mind racing. Could she trust him? Could she risk it? She thought of her empty stomach, the cold alley, the harsh noise of the city. And then she thought about the small spark she had noticed earlier in his eyes, a hint that someone still believed in people, in kids like her. Tentatively, she took a step forward. Then another. By the time she reached him, Marcus had stopped and waited, a quiet smile on his face. She kept her head down but followed him. Every step was a mixture of fear and hope. She didn't know if she was doing the right thing. But she felt, maybe for the first time in years, that it could be right. They walked together, carefully, avoiding the drones that still patrolled the streets. Kayla noticed that Marcus knew the city differently. He ducked into side alleys, avoided cameras, and moved with purpose. She realized he had done this before, helping others, maybe children like her. That gave her a strange comfort. Finally, they reached the entrance to an old tech hub, hidden behind tall metal gates. Marcus pressed a few buttons, and the gates opened quietly. The space inside was warm, with soft lights and the hum of machines. It smelled like metal and oil, but it was safe. Kayla hesitated at the threshold, clutching her bag. Marcus looked at her gently. "You don't have to decide now," he said. "But you can stay here. Tonight, at least." Kayla stepped inside. It wasn't home yet, but it was the first place in a long time where she didn't feel invisible. Marcus gave her a small smile and handed her a blanket. She wrapped it around herself, feeling the warmth seep in. That night, as Kayla lay on the floor, watching the soft glow of the lights, she realized something. For the first time, someone had chosen her. Someone had said, "You matter." And maybe, just maybe, she could start believing it. Kayla woke to the soft hum of machines and the warm glow of lights in the tech hub. She had slept more deeply than she had in months, maybe even years. The blankets Marcus gave her smelled faintly of his coat, clean and comforting, unlike the cold, damp streets. For a moment, she just lay there, staring at the ceiling, feeling safe. She had almost forgotten what safety felt like. Marcus appeared a few minutes later, carrying 2 small breakfast packs. He set one in front of her. "Morning," he said gently. "Eat something. You'll need your energy today." Kayla hesitated but then took the pack. The food was simple, dried fruits and some protein bars, but it tasted richer than anything she had scavenged. She munched slowly, watching Marcus. He seemed ordinary, just a man who had worked with machines all his life, but to her, he was extraordinary. He had chosen to help her when no one else had. After breakfast, Marcus knelt beside her. "Today, I want to show you something," he said. He smiled but didn't push her. Kayla felt the nervous flutter in her stomach. She had no idea what to expect. They left the hub through a hidden exit in the back, a narrow tunnel Marcus had made years ago for emergencies. The streets outside were quiet. Drones patrolled above, their lights sweeping over the empty roads. Marcus held her hand tightly. Kayla realized she hadn't held anyone's hand in a long time. It felt strange, safe, and warm all at once. They emerged into a part of the city Kayla had never seen. The buildings were taller here, but not cold and empty like downtown. There were small gardens, strange machines humming gently, and people moving calmly, working together. It was like another world hidden inside the city, a place where humans still mattered. "This is the human sector," Marcus said quietly. "People come here to work, to build, to survive in their own way. The corporations don't like us, so we keep it hidden." Kayla's eyes widened. She had never imagined a place like this. Everywhere else, humans were too busy or too afraid to care. Here, they worked together. They laughed quietly, shared tools, and built things with purpose. Some were repairing small flying drones, others were constructing machines that looked like miniature spaceships. The air smelled of oil, metal, and life. Marcus led her to a small room filled with parts, screens, and tools. "This will be your place," he he said. You can sleep, eat, and learn here. And when you're ready, you can help us build things that matter. Kayla looked around, trying to take it all in. It was overwhelming, but also exciting. For the first time, she felt like she could be more than just a street scavenger. She could be someone. Before she could respond, a loud hum echoed through the sector. Marcus frowned. The corporations have noticed you're missing, he said. They send patrol drones for anyone who disappears from the streets. We need to be careful. Kayla's stomach tightened. She had thought leaving the streets would mean freedom, but danger still followed her. Marcus placed a hand on her shoulder. Don't worry. I'll teach you how to stay safe. And you're not alone anymore. They spent the rest of the day together. Marcus showed Kayla how to repair small devices, how to make tools from scraps, and how to think ahead when danger was near. Kayla soaked it all in. She was amazed at how much she could learn when someone guided her. Every skill felt like power she had never had before. By evening, Kayla had made her first simple gadget. It wasn't much, just a tiny mechanical bird that could flap its wings. She watched it move, blinking in amazement. Marcus smiled proudly. You have talent, he said. You just needed a place where it could grow. Kayla felt a warmth she hadn't felt before. It wasn't just the success of making the gadget, it was the idea that she could belong somewhere, that someone believed in her. Marcus had given her more than food or shelter. He had given her hope. As night fell, they sat outside on a small balcony overlooking the city. The lights below twinkled like stars, and the hum of the drones felt distant here. Kayla leaned against Marcus, feeling tired but content. She realized that the streets she had survived for so long weren't her home anymore. Her real journey was just beginning. Marcus looked at her with a gentle seriousness. Someday, you'll help people who are like you were, he said. People who feel invisible. People who think no one cares. You'll be able to show them what I showed you today. Kayla thought about that. She had never imagined that she could help anyone. She had always believed the world was cruel and cold. But now, she felt something grow inside her, a spark of courage, a desire to matter. She nodded slowly. I want to try, she whispered. Marcus smiled. Good. That's all that matters. Just the choice to try. That night, Kayla lay on her new bed, listening to the quiet hum of machines and the distant city lights. She thought about the streets she had left behind, about the nights of hunger and fear. And she realized something. She was no longer alone. And for the first time, she believed that maybe, just maybe, she could change her own fate. The city outside was still harsh and dangerous, but Kayla felt ready. She had Marcus, she had skills, and she had hope. And hope, she realized, could be stronger than fear. Kayla had been in the human sector for a few weeks now. Every day was different, and every day she learned something new. She had repaired small machines, built simple tools, and even helped Marcus with some of the more complex gadgets. But nothing could have prepared her for what was coming. One morning, Marcus burst into her small room, looking serious. Kayla, we have a problem, he said. He didn't panic, but his tone was urgent. The corporations have sent patrol drones looking for you. They think you belong to them. Kayla's stomach tightened. She had feared this moment but hoped it wouldn't come so soon. What do we do? She asked, her voice trembling. Marcus knelt beside her. We fight smart, not just hard. You've learned to think, to create, and to survive. Now we use that. They moved quickly through the hidden paths of the sector, avoiding the streets where corporate drones were searching. Kayla noticed that Marcus seemed to know every corner, every shadow, every alleyway where a human could hide. She felt awe in the pit of her stomach. He had survived in this city for a long time, and now he was showing her how to do it too. They reached a small open space filled with old machines and broken gadgets. Marcus handed Kayla a tiny device, half-built and unfinished. This will help us distract the drones, he said. You'll need to finish it quickly. Kayla's hands shook slightly, but determination set in. She connected wires, adjusted circuits, and carefully assembled the small machine. Her fingers moved with a confidence she didn't know she had. Each step reminded her that she was more than a street scavenger, she was someone who could solve problems, someone who could fight against impossible odds. The machine whirred to life, making small noises that echoed through the open space. Marcus nodded at her. Good. Now we use it. From the shadows, the first patrol drone appeared. Its lights swept over the area, searching for movement. Kayla's heart pounded in her chest. She held the device tightly, waiting for the right moment. Marcus whispered, "When I say now, release it." The drone's light passed over them, just a few feet away. Marcus gave a small nod. Kayla pressed a button on the device. It sprang to life, shooting sparks and creating a small flash of light. The drone's sensors were confused. It spun in circles, trying to figure out the source of the disturbance. Kayla and Marcus moved quickly, slipping through the shadows while the drone struggled to regain control. Kayla felt a rush of excitement and fear. She had never done anything like this before. Every step, every decision mattered. She realized that her small size, her quick thinking, and her courage were powerful weapons. They reached a narrow alley and paused. Marcus looked at her. "You did well," he said. Kayla could barely believe it. She had scared a corporate drone away, not with violence, but with her mind and her hands. She had fought and survived. But the danger was not over. A second drone appeared at the end of the alley, larger and faster than the first. Kayla's eyes widened. "Marcus, what do we do?" she whispered. He smiled slightly, as if he had expected this. "We finish what we started. You have one more chance to use your skills." Kayla took a deep breath. She adjusted the device she had just repaired and added a small modification she had thought of. It would create a series of small, loud noises and flashes, enough to confuse the drone completely. Her hands were steady now. She pressed the button. Sparks flew, lights flashed, and the drone hesitated, spinning and beeping. Marcus grabbed her hand, and together they ran through another hidden path, their hearts racing but their minds focused. The drones followed for a moment but were soon lost in the maze of the sector. Kayla could hardly believe it. They had escaped. She had helped. She had survived. They reached the tech hub, safe for now. Kayla collapsed onto a workbench, her small body trembling from adrenaline. Marcus sat beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You were amazing," he said simply. "You thought, you acted, and you didn't give up. That's what humans do. We survive, even when the odds are against us." Kayla looked at him, her eyes wide. She had never heard words like that directed at her before. She had always been invisible, forgotten, and unwanted. But now, Marcus was telling her she was brave. That she mattered. That night, Kayla lay on her new bed, thinking about the events of the day. The city outside was still harsh and dangerous, but inside the sector, she had found a place where humans could shine. She realized that courage was not just about fighting, it was about thinking, acting, and refusing to be controlled by fear. For the first time, Kayla believed in herself. She believed that she could change her life, and maybe even help others. She had survived the streets, survived the drones, and survived her own doubts. And she had Marcus to guide her, to teach her, and to show her what it meant to be human in a world that had almost forgotten what humans were capable of. Kayla closed her eyes and thought about the city beyond the walls. Somewhere out there, other children were still alone, still struggling. But she knew one day, she could help them. Today she had survived. Tomorrow, she could fight not just for herself, but for others. And that thought filled her with a warmth she had never known. The streets had tried to break her, but she had defied fate. And this was only the beginning. The next morning, Kayla woke to the soft hum of the tech hub. Sunlight didn't reach this part of the city, but the glow from the machines and the soft warmth of the room felt like light enough. She stretched and rubbed her eyes, remembering the events of the previous day. She had survived the drones, outsmarted them, and discovered a courage she never knew she had. Marcus was already moving around, preparing tools and devices. "Morning, Kayla," he said, glancing at her with a smile. "Ready to start today's work?" Kayla nodded, determination in her eyes. Today was different. The drones weren't just searching for her anymore, they were searching for all of the hidden human sector. Marcus had received a warning signal that the corporations planned a large sweep, trying to expose their hidden community. Today, they would have to defend themselves. Marcus led Kayla to a central area filled with more machines, gadgets, and other humans who had also fled the corporate streets. Everyone moved with purpose, speaking softly, sharing ideas, and preparing defenses. Kayla watched in awe. Humans could create incredible things when they worked together. This was not chaos, this was strength, intelligence, and courage combined. Marcus placed a hand on Kayla's shoulder. "You're ready," he said. "Your knowledge, your skills, they can help save everyone here." Kayla swallowed hard. She had never thought of herself as a hero, just a girl trying to survive. But now, surrounded by humans working together, she realized something important: humans were capable of incredible things. Courage wasn't about size or strength, it was about choosing to act when others would run or hide. The first wave of drones appeared above the sector. Their lights swept over the rooftops and streets, scanning for signs of life. People worked quickly, activating small machines that could create interference and block the drone sensors. Kayla moved to help, her hands steady as she connected wires and calibrated a device. Sparks flew, and a small hum filled the air. The device worked perfectly, confusing the drones and forcing them to retreat temporarily. Kayla's heart raced. She was not just surviving anymore, she was fighting, helping others survive, and protecting her new home. She looked at Marcus, who nodded at her with quiet pride. For the first time, Kayla felt like she truly belonged. She had a purpose, and she had someone who believed in her. The corporations sent more drones, faster and larger this time. Kayla and Marcus worked together, using clever tricks and traps. They guided the drones into narrow alleys, into decoys, and through interference fields. Every move required careful thought, teamwork, and courage. Kayla realized that human ingenuity could outsmart machines designed to control and dominate. Hours passed, and the drones began to retreat. The humans of the sector had defended their home. Kayla stood on a small platform overlooking the area, her chest heaving, her hands dirty but steady. She looked at the humans around her, strangers, survivors, fighters, and felt a deep sense of pride. They had done what seemed impossible. Marcus came to her side. "You see," he said quietly. "This is what humans can do. We survive. We fight. We protect each other, even when the odds are against us." Kayla nodded, feeling a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. She thought about the streets she had once called home, about the cold nights and empty corners. They seemed distant now, almost like a different life. She had left that world behind, and in its place, she had found something stronger: hope, courage, and family. That evening, the sector gathered together. People shared food, repaired machines, and spoke in quiet voices. Kayla sat with Marcus, watching others laugh and smile. For the first time, she didn't feel invisible. She didn't feel unwanted. She belonged here, and she had helped make it safe. Marcus looked at her, his face soft but serious. "Kayla," he said, "today you didn't just survive. You made a difference. And one day, you'll help others do the same." Kayla smiled faintly. "I want to," she whispered. "I want to help people like me, like I used to be." He nodded. "That's the way of humans. We protect each other. We fight, we create, and we stand together. That's what makes us strong." Kayla thought about that. Humans were small, fragile, and often underestimated, but they had something machines never could: courage, compassion, and the ability to choose. She realized that her life had changed not just because Marcus saved her, but because he believed in the power of humans. He had shown her that even one person's choice could defy fate. As night fell, Kayla stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The neon lights glimmered below, distant and bright. Somewhere out there, other children were still alone, still invisible, still fighting to survive. But Kayla now had a choice. She could stay hidden, or she could help them. And for the first time, she knew exactly what she wanted to do. The city had tried to break her, to make her feel small and unimportant. But Kayla had defied it. She had learned courage, skill, and hope. She had a father, a home, and a purpose. And she would fight to protect it, and others like her, no matter what came next. The girl no one wanted had become the girl who would change her world. And for the first time, she smiled without fear.